I'm not going to get into that. I just want to point out where it is so you're aware of it. And the records from those of the books in that collection should be in the catalog as well. So I want to talk a little bit about Zotero, how to collect, organize, and cite and share your research materials. Okay. A lot of you probably already. How many of you use Zotero? 2. Okay. Other people use EndNote. Okay. 2 people. Anyway, we'll talk a little bit about that. Hopefully, you might find it useful. We'll talk a little bit about the Slavic Eurasian Studies website. Things have changed a little bit. I just want to point out 1 or 2 things. And the one thing I want to point out particularly is this is basically a digital archive. We have a trial of that database from September 1st through September 30th. So I encourage you all to go in and take a look at what's there. We'll do a sample search here, sample search on Gorbachev. So that's kind of the other things. Do you have any questions before I go on? I'm kind of just going to put this where I leave the links. So, some would be leading herself. I want to show you the eBay Academic Complete. It has about, I think, 40,000 books in it. Many of them we already own, but in this case they're accessible to various campuses, so that's one advantage. So, in the library's homepage, if you click on either of the database tabs right here, there's one here, there's one here. You click over to the right, and you see new and updated databases. That's one access point. Or you can go onto the A to Z list and just go to E for eBrary. I wanted to click on this link, this new and updated databases link, in case, for example, you don't remember the name of it. eBrary Academic Complete. So this is actually 70,000 ebooks from 500 publishers. So this is what it looks like. Okay. Fairly expensive product, about $40,000. We're not really going to take time to search this because there's some other things I want to search. I just wanted to point this out to you as one of the new resources.
So is that kind of, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce the database for that, H-A-I-T-H-I.
Oh,
is that kind
Hadi
of,
Trust? Or
Hadi
Hadi
Trust? Is that like that, or is it?
No, this is a complete separate product. And Hadi Trust is basically a conglomeration of libraries, and they digitized lots of their collections and made it accessible to member institutions.
Okay.
So.
And what would this be exactly then? Like also a video archive, or?
No, this is just books.
Okay.
It's basically what eBrary is. It's electronic books company. They basically are just a provider of electronic books.
Okay.
And I believe that only one person can use the book at a time, which kind of eliminates the. You still have to check out the book, so you're using it, but once you check it in, then someone else can use it. And so there are lots of problems with ebooks. So many different models for acquisition, so many different models for use. It's extremely complicated, even among the several providers. There's just not a simple answer to collecting ebooks. So
there aren't all the ebooks are in English, probably right there in foreign languages.
I don't know, but in our languages, no. I don't collect any ebooks for our regions personally because I do not trust the long-term preservation of those books. If we've got them in our library, great, they'll be here, we can preserve them for a long time, but if you've got a server over somewhere in Novosibirsk, I have no control over whether or not that's going to remain viable for 5 years, 10 years, or there can be some sort of censorship, filters or whatever. Not to mention, the long-term viability of the business itself, right? I'm not really going to invest state money into Russian-controlled or Eastern European-controlled electronics resources. If the company has the data and they're actually in the United States, then that's maybe a different story. For example, Eastview has been exploring providing ebooks. I know they do it for the Middle Eastern area and for China too. So, good questions. Thank you. Did anyone else have any other questions about ebooks? You'll probably be seeing more of them. For us, one of the main concerns, one of the things that a lot of us really want to make sure that one thing that's possible is that they can be downloaded onto readers. That's pretty important for us, rather than just be able to view on a screen, because most people really want to take it with them. I mean, it's portable, right? You can put it on your e-readers, the Sony readers, and I think your can't remember what other readers there are. iPads. Well, on an iPad you can just go to it from the library's website. But the electronic book issue it's just filled with all kinds of bugs. Okay, so Zotero. Does anyone know what Zotero is?
It's a citation gatherer, kind of. If you're on a journal article on, like, say, JSTOR, you can just download the citation link right from that page.
Mm-hmm. Okay, have you been used? Go ahead.
And it organizes it really nicely. You can create folders of certain sources.
Okay. Have you been using it?
A little.
Uh-huh.
I've had a computer crash with all of it saved on there, so.
Oh,
But that was before they had the cloud feature, where it was all saved online.
Oh, yeah, right.
So I stopped using it because I lost like an entire research paper's worth of material. So.
I'm so sorry that
Yeah, but that was before the cloud feature. So
Okay.
now you can save all of that and it goes online.
Right.
And you can, I think, download it or at least access it again. So.
Did you ever get that information back?
No. But I was doing my undergrad, it's fine.
Pardon? Sorry?
It was during my undergrad, it's fine.
Oh, okay. So you've moved past that, you've recovered, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So anywhere, it's a free, open source citation management software, right? You can download it here. I'll show you how to do that. So you go to the site, www.zotero.org, and you click download, and then you click Zotero for Firefox here, and you download. A number of you have already seen this, we've already gone through it in some of the sessions, so I apologize for if this is redundant. So just take a few seconds. One of the great things about Zotero is it lives right in the browser. So you don't have to open any other program and go between programs. It's kind of all right there. So I'll install this. And then they have this plugin for Microsoft Word where you can be typing and you come to your citation. Ron Francisco is a great runner. Okay. And then you can find the source that cited that right in Zotero. And apologies if anyway, you can bring that source up, put the page number, and then it'll put it right in your paper, and then it'll help you generate bibliography too. I just happened to look at you and remember what.
Is it? I beg your pardon. Is it only like for Firefox? It doesn't work with Google Chrome, for example.
Actually, someone tried it with Google Chrome a couple weeks, last week, and it worked.
Okay.
Interesting.
So I
Yeah.
download just Zotero for Firefox.
I would do it with Firefox. There were some bugs with Google Chrome. For example, there was a button that wasn't missing. There was one button on the command line and it went missing. So it may not be perfect. So let me install this. So I installed the program, and then I'm installing this plugin for for Word. Oh, you have an old version of Firefox. Okay. That's okay. Well, it's not a problem. So anyway, you can do that. You can go down and install the plugin. There's one for Office. There's one for MS Word as well. Okay. Use OpenOffice or Microsoft Word. It also works for Mac. And sometimes how you get the toolbar in Mac is a little bit different than in Windows. If you run into those problems, just take your laptop to the IT desk in the libraries, or if you don't have a laptop, ask them for help or come to us for help. We can help you figure out how to work that if you're using Mac. So I have to restart. So once I restart, it should put this icon right down here in the browser that says Zotero, and we'll just wait for that to come on. Who else has already started using Zotero? Yes. Have you gotten into it?
Well, I'm just giving it a try, and I'm still a little bit awkward finding all these options, but I think it'll work out okay.
Okay.
What would be the benefits of using that compared to EndNote?
Actually, the one thing about this is that EndNote, Zotero, you have an online function. You can store it kind of on the cloud, so you can upload and from wherever computer you are in the library, you can kind of sync your local files with your online account so that you never lose stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It also, like I said, it lives right in the browser, so you click right here. You don't have to worry about any compatibility filters. For example, when you download data from EBSCO, from like Academic Search Premier or Historical Abstracts, you don't have to worry about selecting the right filter to filter it into EndNote's like codes, which puts everything in the right place. So you don't have to worry about any of those settings. So, and EndNote doesn't live in the browser like this. You have to download it into, as either export it as a file or actually import it into EndNote from the databases. But a lot of the databases have either an EndNote icon or a reference icon. I just find this a little bit more convenient for the work that I do. If you, one of the advantages of EndNote is you can create specific libraries, especially if you have a lot of data. You may not want to use this if you have a lot of data, because EndNote's its own program, right? You store it on your own computer. And this, I think you have a limit of like 3 megabytes, or no, 3 gigabytes for something like that on the online version of it. So if you click here on this little Z, on some computers it's a Z, on this computer it actually says Zotero. So you just click on that and it brings up this window. And so this is my library. No, this is actually someone else's library because this is not my computer. Okay, so it's someone has an Albanian folder. I don't know if that's Jeff. So anyway, so we're viewing someone else's folder because Jeff did Zotero last year and tried it. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of leave this right now, and we'll come back to it as we actually get into a resource. I'm going to skip the web. Well, actually, no, we'll just go over there. So here's our departmental website. And the trial for the Izvestia Digital Archive is bolded in red right here. Okay, so again, let me encourage you to go and explore this so you can get a sense of what's there. Let us know what you found useful, what was difficult to use. It's built on the same platform as the Pravda Digital Archive. It's basically a PDF version of the entire run from 1910 to the present day of Izvestia. Okay. So you only have until September 30th to use it. It's fairly expensive. Through our consortial agreement, we can probably get it for, I think it's like $12,000–13,000, but I'm not sure that we're going to have the money to do that. It lists at like $18,500. That's one of the challenges that we run into, is finding enough funds to buy things. Okay, so this is actually a list of all the Eastview databases that we subscribe to. You can see there's a growing number. The first one here is the Izvestia Digital Archive. So if I want to search that by itself, I can click selected here, and then just check the box for the Izvestia Digital Archive. Does everyone know what Izvestia is? Everyone? If you don't, raise your hand. Okay. Let's click on this. Here's the title. You should get a nice description up here. And this you can do for any of the newspapers or journals in here. In the Eastview databases, you can get this nice description here. So among the longest running Russian newspapers, Izvestia was founded in March 17th, and during the Soviet period was the official organ of the Presidium of the Supreme Soviet of the USSR. Remarkable for its serious and balanced treatment of subject matter, Izvestia has traditionally been a popular news source with intellectual resources. So, a basic summary. I'm sure more could be said about it, more than I know about it, but this is what Eastview has put together. So, and you can see, you go, scroll down, you can actually go to any specific issue. So if you have a citation to any article, you just go in and click the date. Let's try 1991. Okay, let's do that. And I presume you want to go to August sometime, right?
Or December 25th.
Or December what?
25th.
Oh, yeah. Is it not there? No. Okay. December 25th. So there's the kind of the contents. Let's look at page 1 and see what the headline is. So, эпоха перестройки позади. Что будем строить заново? Okay. So, December 25th, Christmas, 1991, after the coup, etc. Picture of, is that Mikhail Gorbachev? Looks like it, right? It's kind of fuzzy, but quite an interesting date. So it's quite nice that you actually have the PDF. You can see what else is around it. We can zoom and just and so you have to use both scroll bars on the right in the browser as well as here. So there's a little larger picture. Now, this was actually scanned from microfilm. So in some cases, depending upon the quality of the microfilm, you might have there might be some problems reading it. So there's a close-up on Последний рабочий день Михаила Горбачева в роли президента. So, there you can read about the article that talks about his last day on the job. Okay, so quite interesting.
Is this something that anyone with a computer can check into, or do you have to be affiliated with the university?
If you want to view it at home, you have to be affiliated with the university. If you come to the KU libraries, we have some machines that are public access. You can get on and use anything, including this. So you have to come to the library, whether it's Watson or Fish. Okay, so that's just kind of the browse function. Why don't we search for Gorbachev during a specific period? So, for example, Gorbachev took office in March of 1985. So if you want to get a sense of kind of the events that led up to when he took office and what kind of happened immediately after, you can do that as well. Sorry, it's hard for me to use this. So I'm just going to do January 1 to July 1, 1985. Okay. There's this keyboard here. If you don't have a Russian keyboard driver installed, you can just use this virtual keyboard. That's it. And the Russian one. Okay. So 272 matches. Oh, I know what happened. It's still on all. Something happened when I was looking first. There we go, 121. Okay, so you can sort by date. So if you want to start out looking at what happened in January that year, kind of leading up to his ascension to the position of first secretary, you can do that. There's at least within his base tab. So there's page 1 here, and you see the score, meaning the amount of times that his name appears, the percentages. So you can do it chronologically. You can also sort by score. That's how it was sorted before, lowest to highest. So this is the article that has the highest, I guess, percentage of hits. So I'm just going to click on this one. Takes a little while. But you can see after you search, it highlights the section where his name appears, and in the left-hand column here, you have a list of the appearances of his name within this issue. Now, one thing, if you're using Google Chrome, it doesn't do this, and this doesn't appear. I tried that this morning and had to call the company to try to figure out what was going on. So, I don't know how it interfaces with Internet Explorer, but Firefox works quite well in this sense. Now, the OCR, the optical character recognition of Cyrillic characters, kind of the code behind this, isn't perfect because the text a lot of times is unreadable. So, when you go to, for example, if you want to take a certain section, you put your cursor in here, you highlight, cut and paste, and then paste it into a Word document, there will be some errors in there, okay? It won't paste perfectly because it's not reading it perfectly. So you'll have to kind of go back and make some corrections if you're citing something. But you can certainly read it no problem. And the search function makes it much better than on the microphone. So this is kind of an interesting issue. Here we're talking about Gorbachev opened the session of the Central Committee on this day, and it just happened to be in connection with the death of General Secretary Chernenko. They're honoring his name. So this happens to be an announcement about that. So there's a little feature on Gorbachev's successor. So this is kind of the first issue. It's a short biography. So that's kind of interesting. So you can kind of pick sections, time periods that you can search and do kind of mini analysis. You can do the same thing with Pravda. So you can compare what's written in Pravda to what's written in Izvestia during a certain time period, kind of survey the Soviet or the press of the Soviet organs to make information. So that's pretty much it. That's what's new. Hopefully we'll get it. I'm not sure. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer some questions. It's not really a hot issue, but certainly I want everyone to know about the trials so that people can explore. And I'll send an announcement out to the faculty either today or tomorrow. If there are no questions, I'm done.
Any
John,
other-
actually,
Go ahead.
when you say a trial, how do you guys measure the success or, the demand for something, a product that you guys are sort of trying out?
But typically, it's based upon use. We announce the trial, and depending upon how many people respond and are interested in using it, and if it shows that high use during that trial period, then then it's one criteria that we use to decide whether or not to purchase it. The other criteria is how relevant it is to faculty research. These are the kind of things that it's going to be relevant to someone at some point. So regardless of the trials, this is something that I personally am going to work to purchase because Izvestia is just a wealth of primary data, right? I mean, it's just not something you want to have. Plus, all the microfilm that we have microfilm of Izvestia. We can move all that to the annex for storage, where it will be stored in a more friendly environment, and people can use this, and that would be for long-term preservation. So, for other trial databases, it really is based on how much use it gets. But
So, thinking about ways to make this produce more income for the library, I know you don't, it's always a sticking point, getting our adjuncts permission to have distance access.
yeah.
And I understand because it costs so darn much, but here you've created this situation where you have at most a few hundred, a few tens to 100 users who use it on a regular basis. People outside can't get a hold of it, right? is there some way that it would be legal to somehow sublet the right to use these databases to outside users for, say, $300 a year?
It's all tied up in the license agreement. We can't violate the license agreement.
And that's in the license agreement?
License agreements can be changed. However, any kind of collaborative agreement would have to include those institutions within the license agreement, and that would, of course, require working with each individual institution that wants to, have access to that. Basically, what it is I talked to Eastview about it, and they said basically what you need to do is call the person at the institution and see if you want to work on a consortial purchase together. So basically, what they would say is, we'll give you a reduced rate if you all purchase it. Okay. And that's what we actually did with this. We
Who else did we buy that with?
well, we haven't purchased
Wait a
it.
minute, but this is the trial. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we negotiated a within our consortium, that Slavic Library Consortium that consists of Indiana, Chicago, Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois, and a couple others. So any one of our institutions that purchases this product gets the discounted price, as long as four, I think it's half, 50%, 4 institutions total purchase it. So those are the types
Separately, though?
No.
Oh, okay.
As long as 4 of the entire group, as long as there are 4 subscriptions among the entire group, then anybody who buys it by a certain date gets the discount. The cutoff date is December 31st.
And the $12,000 is the discount?
It would be down to 12 or 13. So if we don't buy it by December 31st, it'll go up to $18,500. So the business is trying to make their money and give us incentive to buy it, because they've made this product, they've got to pay the costs. And that was also negotiated through, there are 3 Slavic consortia. There's one the East Coast and there's one on the West Coast. And Brad was instrumental in working with Eastview to negotiate for the East Coast. Michael Biggins. It's kind of interesting. 2 Slavic librarians head things up in the east and the center and the west. So we're kind of controlling the major interests of the Slavic consortium. So that's how you would do it for for us on a national scale. But you're talking about institutions like Southwestern College, Northwest Missouri State.
How many people are going to use East Vista in a year?
Well, I've talked that. I've told that to Eastview. There is a person here and a person there and a person up north and a person
we
down
have
south.
people at K-State who would love to use it. We have people at Southwestern College. We have Wichita State. And some of them we try to make adjuncts, but it's on a person-by-person basis. And it's quite frustrating to have these very, very expensive sort of tools and not be able to share them among our region.
Yeah. Well, all I can say is it's just not part of the model right now. And,
They're just shooting themselves in the foot, as far as I'm concerned.
well, yeah, I don't know.
I'd really love to know what the numbers of users are for these things.
Well, in each institution, we get usage data. I can show you what the data is for all the Eastview databases, how many searches were performed, how many sessions and searches. So.
Not downloads.
Well, there really aren't downloads here because everything is available.
Yeah.
Right. There are no restrictions if you're on campus or if you're part of KU. For example, how do I say this? Everything kind of is downloaded, because in some databases there are some full text and some not full text, so they count downloads or searches. But here everything's full text. So. But in the data that I've collected, each database has a kind of different average of what it costs. The Russian central newspapers, I think the last one I looked at, it's per search, it costs like $6 or $7. So every time you're doing a search in one of these databases, it costs $6 or $7. But the more you use it, then the less it costs. Okay, so and then part of the problem is when the more databases we subscribe to, the use for each one can tend to go down, unless of course you leave all the boxes checked. Right. But you may not want to. So we really, we provide hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in Sonic-related content. So hopefully you're, getting your money's worth over here. There's so much stuff available. Any other questions? Really, most of the work that we do, come in if you're working, need some help with materials, finding materials. Come in and talk to me or Jeff, and be happy to work with you one-on-one for individual consultations. That's where we really get most of the work done. It's nice to come and present, but that's where we do most of the work, and that's where we find the most results. So, good luck this semester.
Thanks a lot.
Feel free to come to me anytime if you need some help. I like to have some mugs and some office clothes. Visitors come and some chat.
I'm glad to be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mom's doing better. So, I know that crossed my mind when I first went back.
Hey.
But that was just because my dad left me this frantic message about my mom. I got there and she was okay.
Yeah. Well, we used to at the conference, but it was, it totally just.
That was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it does make a difference because
I'll just get to present.
send stuff out in email, right?
Fellows.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that's part of it anyway. So.
Yeah.
How many emails?
So, are you gonna, try to find something for the volume?
I'm gonna try to, yeah.
Okay.
Put together, and I gotta rework kind of the intro into it just to get more a specific definition of a community with regard to post-Soviet art movements. But and hopefully it'll kind of fit into whatever discussion happened at the conference. But I wasn't there, so it'll be hard.
There was actually there was just one. There was Marika Jansson, and
okay, I think I'm done.
She had a really interesting, provocative.
So you can look at anything in the library.
Yeah, okay. I'm a retired professor of geography.